What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl 𝙒𝙖𝙩, and I'm officially a second year med student. So today's video is going to be a rundown of all of the outside resources that I tried for the first year and the ones that ended up being a part of my everyday routine. The resources that I ended up using in the long run were Boards and Beyond, Sketchy Medical, USMLE-Rx, kind of in tandem with the First Aid book, study guide, Anki, which is free, and then I did end up using the question banks from Osmosis, Exam Master, and then USMLE-Rx also has question bank. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how I used these resources. Did I use them daily? Did I use them for specific modules? All of that. So let's start with Boards and Beyond. So this is a resource that after I started using it, I did use daily. I did not use it in my first semester, and then I started in the second semester, and honestly, I would say don't wait at all. This is a resource that you can get a free trial for, but the free trial is not very helpful because there's only specific videos that they allow you to watch on the free trial. And if you're not in that module, they're not going to be helpful to you at all. But I can almost guarantee you, you're not going to regret just going ahead and making that purchase. It is a relatively large purchase, but it can be something that you factor into the student loans that you're going to accept. So anyway, Boards and Beyond is a resource that provides really streamlined, concise, high-yield summary videos that are supposed to prepare you for boards. So if your school is like my school and all of your finals are in BME style, Boards and Beyond is going to be a great resource for that. That is one thing I started doing with my second semester. I would use my professor's lectures to get through like the midterm type exams. So we have bi-weekly exams. And then we have finals for every module that are in BME style. So for example, after the first bi-weekly, I would not look at those lecture slides ever again. And then when I was leading up to the bi-weekly, all I would do is go through the entire organ system, look at the playlist of the Boards and Beyond videos, do the quizzes after each video, and then that was pretty much my review. It also has tons of Anki decks that correspond with each video that are already pre-made. Like you don't have to make anything at all. You can just download them, look at a video. After you look through a certain section, you can just do the cards for it, and you've like optimized your studying like that. So the next resource I want to talk about is Sketchy Medical. So I didn't really use this every day, and I didn't use it for the entirety of each module. I only use this for pharmacology and microbiology. We had immunology and infectious disease together. So it was really, really helpful for that entire module. In that module, I did use Sketchy pretty much every day. And if you don't know what Sketchy is a resource that basically will create a scene on the screen. It will draw it out and it will explain what's happening in each scene, and they'll tell you what that's supposed to help you remember. And this I can kind of compare to 𝙒𝙗𝙀. So 𝙒𝙗𝙀 is similar. They do draw out a scene on the screen and every symbol means something. I prefer Sketchy just because 𝙒𝙗𝙀 is like a very random scene. Like it doesn't necessarily have continuity. But Sketchy creates an actual continuous story. So for example, they have like one sketch that is like a play on Star Wars, and everything in it fits within the Star Wars theme and also fits and helps you remember what it's supposed to help you remember. So I just thought Sketchy was much better for me because there's a lot of drugs you're gonna have to learn, especially like with cardio. You have to learn all the different class antiarrhythmics, or with antibiotics. That's gonna be crazy. Next, USMLE-Rx. So what I like about this resource is, number one, it kind of, it works in conjunction with the First Aid book, which I would absolutely recommend you get, even starting your first year. You might think, oh, I don't need that till STEP, but that book is fantastic, and I'll talk about it in a second. But with USMLE-Rx, there are different elements of the subscription, so you can get either the total package or you can just get this one thing. So they have a question bank, they have flash facts, which are like flashcards, they have bricks, which I think are, I didn't purchase that, so I'm not sure, but I think there's just like concise explanations and summaries of a lot of the concepts that are in First Aid. They may, express videos, which is really great for reviewing content that you didn't understand the first time, because they explain it in a way that is very clear, kind of down to the basics, and that's the same for the First Aid book, and they usually do it pretty quickly. These videos are like 2 to 3 minutes, so I didn't use it every single day. I would use the express videos for when there was a concept that was just way over my head and I didn't get the first explanation. And then I would use the question banks on like a weekly basis just to kind of test my knowledge as we were going throughout the module. I would say that question bank was pretty helpful for preparing for the bi-weekly exams. So first aid is pretty much a study guide geared towards step 1. And so again, it's like one of the biggest things in med school is learning how to condense and summarize and kind of get through the fluff to the meat of the matter. And first aid is one of those resources that's really great at doing that. The way it organizes material, I really love because it makes it straightforward. A lot of charts. I love to see charts because I like to compare things. A lot of imagery. Anki, the reason why I recommend Anki is because you definitely need some kind of active recall. There are students who rely primarily on passive learning, which would be like rewriting lecture notes, summarizing lecture notes, making a one-page summary. All of that is really great and it can help. But most people will tell you you absolutely need to find some mechanism of active learning / active recall, which is basically when you're quizzing and testing yourself. So Anki is a really great way to make flashcards quickly. And I do have a video on how I make flashcards so that you're not spending all day making flashcards and you also don't have decks that are like hundreds of cards. So check that video out if you have not seen that one. Anki is free. Actually the only resource on this list that is free. It can be a little bit intimidating when you look at other people's setups, but you do not have to go into depth on the setup and the settings. You really could use the basic features. So I would, if I were you, it's summer, start getting familiar with Anki, download it, play around with it, see how you can make cards, what types of cards you can make. But it really, really, really is, I think, the most efficient way for me to make a material that I can be quizzed on every single. Anki also incorporates what's called spaced repetition, which means that they show you cards as you get them right or get them wrong, or label them as like really easy, really hard, kind of easy, good. Depending on how you label the card, it will show it to you in a certain amount of time that is like scientifically proven to be the right length of time to increase the likelihood that you will remember that fact and store it in your long-term memory as opposed to just cramming. And finally, question bank. So the ones that I used were from Osmosis, USMLE-Rx, and Exam Master. I really liked all of those. I feel like USMLE-Rx was really good for helping me prepare for the bi-weekly exams. Osmosis and Exam Master were really good for helping me to prepare for the NBME style finals because those questions were varying levels of difficulty. They were definitely not first order. They were probably second and third order questions, which was really good because you're gonna see a lot of that on NBME final. One thing that's great about Exam Master is it has really long explanations, like a paragraph for each one. So if you walk away and you don't know why the correct answer is correct, it's just because you skipped the reading altogether. But they give you thorough explanations, and Osmosis does as well. There were a few resources that I said I'd use and I didn't stick with, and I'll talk briefly about those. One of those was Picmonic, which I spoke about earlier. For me, just kind of the random images didn't really work well. Lecturio, so conceptually this is very similar to Boards and Beyond. I did give it a try. The free trial, I just wasn't impressed. For some reason, the way they lectured just didn't really stick with me. The videos were a little bit longer than I wanted them to be. Honestly, I don't know why. It just didn't work for me, but you should give it a try. I believe they do have a free trial. And then Med Student Notes. So Med Student Notes is really just like, it's almost like downloading a PDF that's kind of like the high yield summary of all the organ systems, but it's not that concise. It's like over 100 pages for each organ system. And so I just felt like there's no point in going through all of this when I have all this in first aid. It's high yield and it's way less than 100 plus pages. Anyway, this brings me to the end of this video. I'm so glad to be back making content for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If there are any other videos that you would like to see, any questions you have about med school, definitely leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.